Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Sex appeal is a mindset. Sex appeal is a mindset. And y'all know me. You know, anybody who's followed my work, read my books, follow me on Patreon, especially follow me on my Raw site. You know, my main thing is talking about how to develop your sex appeal. Or any of my sites. I don't talk about it as much on YouTube, but yeah, that's about to change because I want people to make sure they know what Rom is talking about. You know, because the social side of dealing with women and all of that, well, there's plenty of dudes. You got a range of dudes talking about that on here, but not enough discussion about sex and sex appeal and all of that. And even then, I still got to hold back on here a little bit. One, because of the, YouTube don't always like monetizing some of the stuff where I'm talking about sex, or they got to check it out, something like that. And then, which is really scary, or you got some cats who really don't want to deal with it when you point out some stuff. That's all right. That's the one thing, But sex appeal is more of a mindset. Now, people know I talk about the body game because that's a foundation. That's something that people, that's something a woman's going to look at. The body. She might ignore other stuff, but she's going to judge it regardless. And I'm going to get into my next podcast about different body parts, how you got to work that. But that's just one part. That's just the foundation. Because say you meet a woman and she, she like that you tall, she like that you stocky, whatever you got, right? But then you got to talk to her. You still got to go on a date with her. That's where it hurts a lot of dudes. And you even have some good-looking dudes, or dudes considered good-looking by many women. They'll say, yeah, went on a date, but it didn't work out. And then sometimes what the women will say is, well, he was all right till he opened his mouth. But see, that's that physical part. And one thing also with that physical part, is limited. Like I said, I'm going to get into that physical part more in the next one. That's limited though, because you only limited to, like, if you got a big chest, big arms and big chest, you're limited to the women who like a big arms and big chest. Somebody who ain't feeling it, you can't do it. Now, when we get to that part about sex appeal, that's when you can win whether or not she's feeling the foundation of your body. Now, that's harder. Now, of course, I always focus on the body game. Y'all know why. Because that's a basic thing somebody get started on. But the sex appeal part, developing your sexual essence, is harder. And just to be clear, like I said, I always talk about this. In fact, my very first video on YouTube, I talked about that. I talked about like getting past looks, money, and status with that sex appeal. Now, to understand, it's a mindset. That's the main thing. It's a mindset. It's how you approach it. Because in general, and this is something I've talked about before when I was getting into it deeper, but there's going to be two general ways that a person, any human being, regardless, is going to approach sex. Two general ways. And then there's a third way. One general way is they're approaching it from a place of fear. Let me say that again. They're approaching it from a place of fear. They could be scared. They could be scared of getting diseases. They could be scared of sinning according to their religious path. They could be scared of getting their hearts broke. It could be a bunch of things, that could stem from childhood drama, such coming from the imprints and everything, right? And it's a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is fear. It's a subconscious fear. Like you might have a fear that a certain person's going to do something to you if you deal with them. In fact, that fear thing is why sometimes a person might not deal with the best person for them because they fear this person might drop them or not like something about them, so they move on. But that fear thing is a powerful thing. And also that fear, and that it's a range of things that go with the fear part. But then The other side is not a fear thing. In fact, it's a loss of control. Those people down for whatever. They like a bull in the china shop. They like, hey, whatever. People who have that predominant, one thing interesting about them, they way more sexually aggressive because they don't have anything. They ain't worried about a disease. You know, even if they catch them, they ain't worried about it. They ain't worried about pregnant. They ain't worried about the negative aspects of it. It's like they got to get theirs. They got to get theirs, right? You know, no matter what. These are the type who they'll wear the flashy clothes. That's the woman who, even though she work in a conservative environment, she'll wear like those 6-inch heels and tight dress or something. You know, because with both sides, people can get extreme with it. Now, that's a loss of control. That's a loss of control. Those are two. People going to have one or the other. There's no exceptions. They're going to have one or the other because each one is within every single human being. It depends how much do they repress one or the other. You know, sometimes people fear that more sensible part, that fear part, they'll repress that to the point they just don't have it, but it's still there. It's just repressed. And then other people can repress that other part where they're allowing their sexual energy, their sexual side just to flow. You know, and all of that is a mindset. All that is a mindset. Like you get some people, they might have that loss of control thing, and their body, facially, physically, they could be jacked up, but they don't care. They down for whatever. Anybody who's really been out in the game, they can see those types. You know, it might be that woman who don't look like much, shoot, ugly, overweight, bad attitude, but she down for whatever. Or that dude who look average, but shoot, he holler at everybody because he don't have any fear about it. And then on the other side, you can have someone who has that fear aspect, but physically, they're very gorgeous. They, shoot. Even though I don't like using that word objective, I'll say consensusly attractive, you know. But because of that fear thing, they don't show it the same way. Right? So it's a mindset. It don't have anything to do with the body. The body just enhances it. Like somebody with a great body and they have the loss of control aspect, shoot, they kick ass. Those are usually the ones. Those are usually the ones that ain't having any issues, at least having sex. Now, that loss of control has some other aspects to it. Some social aspects can be an issue, but that's a whole other conversation. And I say there was a third thing with it. The only third thing is you still got both, but very, very few people are totally balanced. It's rare. It's extremely rare, and the people who usually get to that balance point usually is when they older. Where they, I ain't gonna say it's so much a fear thing, but you know, they're more sensible in their approach. But it's still a mindset. Or they could still express their more sexual side without limiting it. Closer to the loss of control side, but it's like totally balanced. Now that's a hard thing. It's rare. Extremely, extremely, extremely rare. But whatever sides it's on, it's both of it still a mindset. It's in the mind. It's in the mind. And that's why sometimes you might have someone, like I said earlier, you might have somebody who's like physically attractive but still have trouble because they had that fear aspect. Or somebody who's not as attractive had that loss of control, but they hit on everything. Both of it is in the mind. And I'm going to tell you how deep it is in the mind. It could be like a subconscious thing. Like people to really address it, they would have to like look back on everything in their lives. But it's still a mind. It's like, okay, if you want to address it, regardless of which side you want, if you're trying to become better or ultimately balanced, because that's my ultimate program, becoming balanced in it. You know, it's a mental thing. It ain't check it out. Even though I talk about the body game, it ain't just a body thing. Or, you know, you get a lot of people talk about, well, if you get some money and status, don't mean anything if you got that fear there, does it? Or even the loss of control, because you might like spend a little bit too much money and still get in some trouble. But you got to deal with the mindset first. and then that's how you approach it. So, and I'm just giving a little bit. If I've talked about this in some of my on-demand videos on my Vimeo. I get a little bit deeper, but I got a whole bunch of people that haven't heard all of that yet. So check that out. Check out some other sites to get deeper into that aspect. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.